Sorry.
Who's that? He needs to rest. Get a medical. Mhm. Exactly. Good evening. We are going to begin this evening with the Shalom Aleichem. It's found in the Siddur on page number 5, and those joining at home are invited to join as well. Shalom Aleichem is a song. It's a poem. The word shalom means peace. Aleichem means literally upon y'all. And this poem, this song, reminds us that symbolically, when we leave the shul, the synagogue, when we go home, we're being escorted by angels. And so we call out in song to the angels that are near us and will be escorting us home after we leave the synagogue, that the angels have a sense of peace. Well, I would imagine that angels are automatically within a sense of peace. Well, why would and how would an angel be stressed or distressed or upset? An angel spends its eternity in the presence of God. So maybe the angel is distressed because it's temporarily away from God and it's just down here with us mortals as we're preparing for Shabbat services. Or maybe it's saying something else. Maybe it's saying that you and I have the power to actually bring a message of peace to anyone and everyone, human being and beyond human alike. And if that's the case, which is what I like more, that shows on Friday night how spiritually powerful we are. And we take hold of that, and we co-opt that, and we use the phrase Shalom Aleichem as a greeting to each and every one of us as well. So Shalom Aleichem, peace to y'all. We begin. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoret, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Polachem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Luchun Arananam on page 11, which literally means, come on, folks, let's all sing together. Page 11. Lechuneranena, 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 ladonai. Lechuneranena, 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 ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yish enu, nekama fana bitoda. Naria, naria, letzor yish enu, bizmira naria lo. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, nikama fana bitoda. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, bizmira naria lo. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests too are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore, not enter my rest. Arim shana tut b'dor v'amar to'en levavhem v'hem lo yidu drachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. And turning now to the song sheet we have, the angels came to greet us, and we're calling out and singing to God. And that's why I've chosen this evening the song Heaven and Earth, where heaven and earth touch, because we're at a bridge point between heaven and where we are. And through our song, our prayer, our gathering together, we're coming close to crossing that divide.
I'm not sure where, I'm not sure how. Maybe later, maybe now. Somewhere, heaven and earth touch. Perhaps it's only in a dream, never to be found or be seen. But somewhere, heaven and earth touch. I stop and look for miracles of better things to come. Perhaps I'm just too close to see. The miracle is you and me. I want to believe in a better day. I want to believe. I want to believe. I want to believe in a better way. And I want to believe that heaven and earth touch someday. every laugh, in every tear, in every joy, in every fear, somewhere, heaven and earth touch. In every light of every day, in everything, in every way, somewhere, heaven and earth touch. We stop and look for miracles, for better things to come. Perhaps we are too close to see the miracle is you and me. I want to believe in a better day. I want to believe. I want to believe. I want to believe in a better way. I want to believe heaven and earth touch someplace. We look, but do we see? We listen, but do we hear? We touch, but do we feel? The signs are there, they are real. We stop and look for miracles, for better things to come. Perhaps we are too close to see the miracle is you and me. I want to believe in a better day. I want to believe. I want to believe. I want to believe in a better way. Want to believe that heaven and earth touch someday. Heaven and earth touch someday. Heaven and earth touch someday. Heaven and earth touch someday.
The Psalms speak of heaven. And on page number 14 in the Siddur, the last two stanzas. The heavens shall be glad, and the earth rejoice. The sea and its fullness roar. The meadows and all that grows in them exult. Even the trees of the forest shall sing praise, as Adonai comes to judge the earth, judging lands with righteousness and peoples with divine truth. The heavens, the earth, all inhabitants, the entire cosmos are all standing in the presence of God. And that theme leaves this psalm, which is found here in the Erev Shabbat service, the Kabbalah Shabbat service, and becomes significantly amplified in a few weeks when we move into the Rosh Hashanah service, wherein not only we stand in the presence of God, but the entire physical world stands in the presence of God. From an ancient and medieval Jewish point of view, that the physical and the spiritual realms are merged. And again, you and I, in some way, are that transitional element or that transitional means of bridging through our humanity and through our desire to be closer to the spiritual aspect of one and only. It's up to us. Turning now to page number 20. Again, lift up our voices. We're singing. It's the Romamu, and we're joining Craig with Romamu. the last two lines of the Siddur on page number 20.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu.
And on page 21, Mizmor David. On page number 21, Mizmor David. Mizmor David, Habul Adonai bnei Elim, Habul Adonai kavod, Habul Adonai kavod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai alamoyim, El kavod hirim, Adonai almayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shomer arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei Lebanon. Vayirkinen kamo egel, Lebanon v'siryon, kamo ben re'emim. Kol Adonai chotze lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol el ayolot, Vayechesof ya'arot, Ovechalot kulo omer kavod. Adonai lamabul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz liamo yiten, Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom. on page 23, the first two, page 25, the last two stanzas. Lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Shamar v'zachar b'dibur echad ishmianu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem kol tiferet Beletela lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lekrat Shabbat lecha v'nelcha ki mekor haberach hamerosh v'kedem nesucha sof ma'aseh v'machshavat techila lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Yamenu smote parasi yet Adonai taritzi al yadish ben parti v'nesmecha v'nagila lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Bolev shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzala tokemone am segola boichala lecha dodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela yai dai 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 Da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. And we're seated to the Psalm for Shabbat on page number 27. The Psalm for Shabbat. It is good to thank you, Adonai. Good to sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. And tonight I want to pause for a moment. This is a natural break point, you might say. We remember that the Kabbalat Shabbat, which first arises in our tradition, is only about 500 years old and came along in the early 1500s in northern Israel at the touch of the Kabbalists to add a little bit of zip and pizzazz, you might say, to the official Friday evening service, which is, of course, the Baruch Hu, the Ma'ariv, the V'Shamru, and the Nichimoch and the Amid and the Aleinu. So this is a natural breaking point. And I want to just share a couple thoughts. First, many of us are familiar with this Chumash, the 5 books of Moses. We kind of grew up on it. And I bring this to your attention and also those joining it at home, because at least 2-3 generations of American Jews grew up reading the Hertz Chumash. And I remember when I was, as a child and teenager, following a long vacation in the Torah reading, and it was the Jewish version of the thee and the thou and the doeth and the walketh, and I never quite understood it. This Chumash, which of course influenced literally many hundreds of thousands, perhaps 1-2 millions of Jews in their understanding of Torah, was composed, you might say, in terms of the English commentary and presented by one of the first conservative rabbis ever. His name was Joseph Hertz. And he prepared this edition, you might say, in the 19-teens, 1920s, and there were a number of editions, 1930s. And he prepared it, although a graduate of the American conservative movement, Jewish Theological Seminary, largely for the Jewish-speaking community of the British Commonwealth, because he himself was a British subject. And this Chumash and sister versions of it went throughout the entire British Commonwealth, serving the needs of Jews. And he also prepared a number of editions of a Siddur, which is called the Hertz Siddur, with a number of different publication dates. And some were presented and distributed, you might say, to the American Jewish audience, but some to Great Britain and beyond. And I bring to our attention the American edition, but I also wish to share with you a specific British version. And now backing up, we have traditions going back to the 1600s in Central Europe and approaching our own time, but the 1600s, where Jewish people would say a specific prayer for the monarch across many dukedoms and fiefdoms and kingdoms throughout Europe. And we have them recorded, and different Jews in different locales would pray for the monarch. And often that prayer was presented just after the Torah reading. And you and I are very familiar with the Mishavera, the prayer for healing, which is presented at that point when the Torah is closed. A prayer offered at the point of the Torah service is seen as having a great deal of preeminence and significance. It's got kind of a seal of approval because it's right next to the Torah reading. And that's when we say in our tradition a prayer for Israel and a prayer for America and a prayer for peace. And that's the function of at least 300 or 400 years or more of a practice of saying a prayer for a monarch. And so in the generic version of the Siddur, you might say, we have a prayer which goes as follows. May God, who giveth salvations unto all, giveth salvation unto kings and dominion unto princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, bringing forth blessings, praise, power, authority, and control to those mortals who are kings, governing and offering protection, safety, guardians, and help. May the Supreme King of Kings in his mercy preserve each and every and all of them, these kings and dukes and officers, and so on and so on. That, you might say, is the generic prayer from the Hertz Siddur. But this is a different version of that prayer, and it was established in 1935. And I think we'll understand why I'm reading it this evening. May God, the sovereign, bless our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth II, Elizabeth the Queen Mother, Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Charles, Prince of Wales, and all the royal family. May the Supreme King of Kings in his mercy preserve the Queen in life, guard her and deliver her from all trouble and sorrow. May he put into her heart and into the hearts of all her counselors a spirit of wisdom and understanding, that they may uphold the peace of the realm, advance the welfare of the nation, and deal kindly and truly with all Israel. In her days and in ours, may our Heavenly Father spread the tabernacle of peace over all the dwellers on earth, and may the Redeemer come unto Zion, and we all say, Amen. And I mention this because we obviously are aware that history has changed just in the past number of hours. And I've heard from a number of colleagues, American and those from the Commonwealth. And some of our American colleagues were saying, well, it's kind of a bit of interesting history, you might say. And a number of colleagues from Canada and Great Britain have written in and said, wait a minute, you have to understand that this is a significant loss to us. And there are many Jewish people that have looked to her as a significant part of their lives, under her flag, under her crown, for these 2 generations, 7 decades. And they're Jewish people who use or used to use the same chumash and the same siddur that we did, adjusted for publication date. And they're experiencing a little bit of grief, a little bit of sorrow, a little bit of mourning. And it reminds me that we need to pause and we need to take stock of the touch that one person can bring into the world. Admittedly, I'm not accustomed to the touch of a sovereign per se. My experience, my tradition, my comprehension of sovereign is Avinu Malkeinu, and I look at the one beyond all as my sovereign. Still in all, within this reality, in this experience, for decades, there are Jews who are now feeling a bit adrift and lost. And going back multiple centuries, there are Jews who relied on mortal kings and queens, princes and dukes for their safety. Something for us to consider. I don't know what the official position of the monarchy was towards Israel. I mean, remember Lord Balfour in 1917, which was a foreign minister, and he was, of course, presenting a voice on behalf of the Majesty, His Majesty at the time, which was in favor of the establishment of a Jewish homeland in what was then called Palestine. And we know that Britain managed the British mandate of Palestine. And depending upon which element of history you want to look at and which point in time you want to look at, it was a mixed bag of treatment. And Britain decided to leave on May 13th, 1948. And that's why and when and how the Jewish community then chose to establish itself on May 14th, 1948, just hours after the last British forces left. That's an interesting question. Did we say prayers on behalf of the countries who fought the Axis powers in the World War II time? I don't know. I would hope so. I would imagine so. I would imagine so. Yeah.
This will be 75 years old today.
Israel just turned 72, yes? 48, 52, 74. So she'll be 75, yes. We rise for the Baruch Hu on page number 39b. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMavorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Voed. We're seated. The first bracha. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space. You completed your work of creation on the seventh day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest and all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, ruling light before darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El Chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalel am voed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 40, the English bracha, with timeless love. With timeless love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. You have taught us Torah and mitzvot, statutes and laws. Therefore, Adonai our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch atah. V'avotecha al tasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema, page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol ma'odecha v'hayot hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom ha'levavecha Vishinantam Labanecha, Vidibartabam, Vishiptecha Bebetecha, Uvalektecha Vaderech, Uvishachpecha V'kumecha, Ukishartam Laot al Yadecha, Tehayulet Totafot Benenecha, Uktavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Moment or two of silence, page number 42. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Turning to the second song sheet, prior to the Michamocha, a song will guide my steps. And a reminder, folks, that Vikamoka is a song of walking, of journeying. And this modern piece, I hope, puts us in the frame of reference of as we move forward in our daily lives, individually and as a group, may we see ourselves walking forward into an experience of greater freedom and safety, security, and peace for ourselves and for others.
Guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Ufos aleinu sukai shlomecha. Ufos aleinu sukai shlomecha. Guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps.
Page 44. Mi kamocha ve'lim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar kodesh norati lot osei felem malchutecha ra'u banecha Bokeh yam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu v'yamru Adonai Eloch le'olam va'ed Pneimor ki padar lo et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And a musical iteration of Lahashkivenu. This is Craig Taubman.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim u'shmot zetenu u'voenu l'chayim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim
V'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבא, יפרה בחייכם וביום אחד ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב במהרה אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיא. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתמם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילם וקברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ביומם אמרו amen. Rising the Silent Amida, pages 47 to 52, or a private prayer which we compose within our own minds. page 53. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא העליון, קונה שמיים וארץ. מגן אבות בדברו, מחיי מתים במאמרו, האל הקדוש אין כמוהו, המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו, כי בם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבוד מיראה ופחד, ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד, on הברכות. אלוהות אדון השלום, מקדש השבת וברך שביעין, ומניח בקדושה למד ושני עונג, זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותברכנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהרנו בברכך באמת, וכנו עלינו ברצון, שבת קודשך, בנוך בישראל מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. יתקרא ויקרא שמי רבו, יעמד ושמי אמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבו מבורך, בעולם ליעלמי עולמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפרנס ויראה וישמע קודשו ברכו לילה מן ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תמרימו ואמרו אמן. תקבל צלותן ומתון דוחה ישראל קדם אבו הונדי בשמי ואמרו אמן. יש מוסים אמרו אמן. עושה שלום במומו ויעשה שלום ולכסים אמרו amen. We rise, please, the Aleinu on page 56. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer reshit, shelo asanu kgoye aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. ואנחנו קוראים המשתחווים עומדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו ובזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום לשבת el levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, v'shamayim mimal, v'yal haaretz, mitachot Ein od. Kakatu b'Torah techa, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, le'melech al kol haaretz. Vayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad. O Shema. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish, down on page number 58. On this Shabbat, we as a community remember with great love David Plotka, Sarah Grodsky, Arthur Grodsky, Amelia Morningstar Loeb, Libby Ladizhinsky, Bess Malkin, Pesha Rips, Ann Sussman, Pauline Marcus, Chaim Gert, Theodore Impastato, Gertrude Rips, Charles Weber, Mordechai Zaremba, that's Mr. Zaremba's child. For those who remember, Mr. Zaremba had a wife and children, and they were destroyed by the Nazis. Mrs. Zaremba separately had her own husband, and her husband was destroyed by the Nazis. And Mr. Zaremba and Mrs. Zaremba met in a DP camp and were married in a DP camp after the war. And they moved to that large metropolis of Jewish life known as Mobile, Alabama. And they settled here. But when we say Mordechai Zaremba, we remember, because nobody else will. Peter Strinsky, Rosalie Rosenthal, Samuel Sass. And we know, of course, that as a community, we just lost Judy Dittman, who'd been part of our overall community for many, many years. And we just lost Les Kramer, who'd been part of our shul for decades and decades. Are there any other names to mention today? And perhaps those at home have a name to mention. Those reciting Kaddish are invited to rise at this time. Yitzkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabba, Amen, Be'olma, Divra, Chirute, V'yamlich Malchute, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chaye Dechol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, U'v'izman Kariv, V'imeru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivarach, Le'olam Ololmei Olmaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shmei, dekudesha, b'richu, le'ela, min kol, birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'olma, v'yimeru, amen. Yehei, shaloma, rabba, min shemaya, V'chayim Olenu Yal Kol Yisrael V'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May we never lose sight that we, as individuals, remind ourselves of people whom we don't know. And that's literally how we conclude the service, whether it's the evening service or the morning service. Kaddish is just near the end. That's a testimony. We remember people whom we don't know with a prayer for shalom and an expression of hope that has to fill the universe and beyond. That's Kaddish. We'll conclude in just a moment. A few reminders. I've been asked to remind people to RSVP to the Sister of Tea, if not yet. We're RSVP'd. It is September 18th, and it's at Joy Grodnick's home. It's at 2 p.m., and you've been receiving the information time and again. So if you haven't yet RSVP'd for the Sister of Tea, and that's members of Sisterhood, obviously, and those who wish to join Sisterhood, which is getting started again, we're very excited about that, please RSVP. If you're ordering apple pies for Ukraine relief, the deadline is September 11th. $10 per pie. All proceeds go to Ukraine relief. They are pie. They'll be ready just before Rosh Hashanah, but you've got to send in your check. Your check is your RSVP. Sister Challah, it's a fundraiser. Round challah, plain or raisin. It's a fundraiser. It's $9 per challah. The deadline to order is September 18th. That's a week after the apple pie. So you can remember that. Slichas will be next Saturday, September 17th. Details are forthcoming. And a reminder, of course, tomorrow morning is, of course, Shabbos morning davening. Tomorrow evening is Havdalah on Zoom at 7:30. The funeral for Les Kramer, Oliver Shalom, will be at 3 p.m. on Sunday, 3 p.m. on Sunday at the Shul Cemetery. And there'll be a Shiva Minyan here at 4 for the family, and hopefully members of the community will come by and visit with the family at 4 o'clock, and there'll be some light refreshments as well here at the shul on Sunday. So the funeral's at 3 at the cemetery. Shiva Minyan is here at 4 with refreshments thereafter. And we'll conclude with the Adon Olam on page 211, page 211.
Asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra v'eit nasa v'chepso kol azai melech shemo nikra v'acharei kichlot hakol Livado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoved v'hu yibeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni lehamshilo Bili reshit, bili tachbit, bilo ha'oz, v'ha'misra.
Shabbat Shalom. Yes. So, good Shabbos. Thanks for joining in. We look forward to seeing you hopefully soon. Until we see each other in person, especially on high holidays, if you come in. We are socially distanced in the large sanctuary with the back wall open. Until we see each other in person, good Shabbos. You are a blessing and you're very important to me and to us. Reach out.
Are you still working? Yeah. Okay.